It seems everywhere you look these days, there's a track meet across the world in every time zone. And watching all of it, Morgan Campbell, wonderful to see you again, Morgan. The Diamond League in Marrakesh this weekend featured Canada's Andre de Grasse, 10.19 in the 100-meter. What do you make of this performance? It's been a while that since he's broken that 10-second barrier, Morgan.
Yeah, maybe a little bit slower than we would have expected, but again, I keep cautioning people. Different athletes react differently to getting off of the plane, landing in a new time zone, and running that first race. And often it takes 2 or 3 races overseas before your body is caught up with the jet lag. But for DeGrasse, when you think about the season he had last year, like his fastest time last season was 10.16 seconds in the 100 meters. And so for him to have opened his season at the end of April with a win legal 10.1, I think we discussed this before. If you're Andre de Grasse, you take that 100%. And so for Andre, it's just going to be a matter of getting back into a racing rhythm. It's one thing to practice things. It's another thing to do it when it counts. And so for right now, he's like all Canadian sprinters. He's up against that 10-second barrier because they want you to have run under 10 seconds in order to compete in the open 100 in the Olympics. But I would imagine if Andre is trending toward that, and Canada's relay team still looks like they're going to make some noise, that they would find a way to get Andre de Grasse into the open 100 meters. I don't know that anyone with that type of decision-making power is going to look at Andre de Grasse and say, "Oh, right. You ran 10:01. We need you to run 10 flat. Yeah, you have Olympic medals in this event, but sorry, bro. The time is the time."
Right. Well, and Morgan, you and I have come to know, as well as many Canadians, that when the pressure is its greatest, Andre seems to deliver. Does it get in his head, though, at this point? Because he didn't qualify for the 100 for the World Championship last year, didn't meet that qualifying standard. 10 seconds, the clock is ticking. We know nationals are at the end of June. Does it get into his head, or does he have the experience to know that when it matters most, he can deliver?
The times that he has been able to turn it on under pressure are also the times that he's best prepared, the times that he's healthy, the times that he's had a good lead up to this event. So the question for Andre isn't whether or not when the pressure's on, he's going to flip a switch and run that time. The question is, when the pressure's on, how have the weeks leading up to that time, when it's time to flip the switch, been? Because if he has been healthy, training hard, training smart, and he's prepared, when he flips that switch, the light will come on. And that's what we've seen in the Olympics in the past. That's what we've seen in the World Championships in the past. But that wasn't what we saw last year just because he did not have the same preparation. This season, he was deep into his training and connected to it mentally and physically in ways that if you asked him about last season, that he wasn't really last season.
That is brilliant context. It's why we pay you the big bucks on this show. Okay, at the same meet, superstar Shericka Jackson in the 200, 22.82. The last time you and I talked, you said, let's not read too much into these early season. You mentioned it again. But how much should we read into this performance by Shericka Jackson?
The middle of last summer, we were seriously looking at her as a contender to break one of Florence Griffith Joyner's records in the women's 200, which is, for generations, has been an untouchable record. She comes out and runs 22.8, which is a very good time for some people, sort of a slow time for her, but it is also her season opener. And her season opener has also been delayed a few times. So we don't know, like when in the post-race interview, she kind of hinted at having been injured. And so her timetable might have been pushed back a few weeks by whatever was happening in training. And so again, we're in a situation where these people are professionals. They know how to prepare. They have good coaches. They know how to get ready. And if Shericka Jackson gets healthy and stays healthy, we will probably see her take big chunks off of that 22.8. And if she doesn't, if she gets stuck there, that might be an indication that she never got fully healthy. But the interesting thing is, this same weekend, big track meet in Los Angeles, here comes Sydney McLaughlin Levrone, 400-meter hurdler. Runs 22.07, and she doesn't even plan to run the 200 in the Olympics. She's still, hey guys, I'm a 400-meter hurdler. This is just a little side mission for me. 22.07, thanks. Right. So it's an intriguing event, and the bottom line is, based on the way we've seen last year's medal winners perform, this is not one of these events where you can just hold a coronation ahead of time for last year's medal winners and say, penciled him in on the podium already. I think this event is wide open.
Let's go to what? The greatest athlete in the world. Isn't that what they call it when you win the decathlon? Damian Warner,
Yes.
his 8th title at Grasse in 11 years. He's 34 years old, Morgan, and he's putting up numbers pretty close to some of his best times, or right around there. How does this guy keep doing this at the highest level? Because his consistency of greatness is something to marvel over, and I think as Canadians, we've taken that a little bit for granted.
You said it right, and this is a good problem to have, I guess. But it's the problem with being a great decathlete, right? Is that you don't really have a circuit. What you have are gutses, maybe trials, and whatever the big championship is that year. And so for much of the season, you are all but invisible, to mainstream fans. And I think of Damian Warner as this athletic marvel in the sense that he's a guy, his best events in the decathlon are the ones that tend not to age well, like a 100-meter dash, all-out sprint. That's a test of top speed. If he's a 22-year-old decathlete, I could see him running 10-1, 10-2 easily. Now he's a 34-year-old decathlete still running 10-2. That's a superpower that few athletes have, but most sports and track and field don't reward. And so it's hard for everyday fans to really grasp how special it is that he's still able to do this.
To that point, Pierce Lepage wasn't there. I think a lot of people were surprised by what seemed like a late scratch for the event, Morgan. And we're hearing reports that it's a bit of a minor injury for Pierce. And the sense I'm getting is he just didn't want to risk it 2 months out from Paris to go and not be in peak physical form. And maybe you injure yourself and you ruin your whole Olympic chance.
Yeah, if you're Pierce Lepage, if it's a minor injury, then the smart thing to do is to scratch from gutses. Because think about this: if you have a minor injury over the course of 10 events over 2 days, at what point do you get to rest and rehab and repair that minor injury? Never.
Right.
Because every time you start feeling better, you got to jump up and go do something else. He did absolutely the smart thing, because it's better to pull out of an early season meet because of a minor injury than to let that minor injury become major and then miss the one meet every year and a half or 2 years that everyone's going to be watching.
That event is going to be riveting in Paris. I mean, there's already rumblings that the Canadians might go 1-2 in Paris in the decathlon. A lot has to happen until then. Wonderful stuff from you, as always. The temperature is feeling like summer outside. We're getting into the heart of the outdoor season, and we're still counting down to Paris. And Morgan Campbell will break it all down from now until the big show at the Games this summer. Thanks, Morgan.
As always.